So we are about 5 weeks out from the Packers trading Rasul Douglas to the Buffalo Bills. Packers basically go from a 5th-round pick to a 3rd-round pick, trade away Rasul Douglas, and now the Packers are sitting at 6-6, and it's a completely different looking team than I think we saw at the time of the Rasul Douglas trade. At the time of the trade, the Packers were sitting at 2-5. It felt like most of us were more focused on, okay, what draft pick will the Packers have? Will we have a top 5, top 10 draft pick? And it almost made even more sense for the Packers to be sellers at the trade deadline because of the way that this team was looking. And now I think if you look back at that, the fact that now the Packers are in the playoff hunt, there's a pretty good chance if the Packers play as they have the past few games that they could, likely be in the playoffs. And so now you wonder, does Brian Gutekunst regret this, trading away a top-tier corner, a very good corner who has been productive during his time here in Green Bay? And so I also want to grade the Rasul Douglas trade based on what has happened so far. And I think just if you look at the fact that the Packers defense has been able to play as good as they have, not only with Rasul Douglas gone, but also with Jair Alexander missing most of the games the past 5 weeks since Rasul Douglas was traded away. And I think it just shows the depth here the Packers have at cornerback, the fact that Carrington Valentine has played really, really well. And I want to compare here Rasul Douglas and Carrington Valentine in both of their past 4 games. I'll throw it up here on the screen. So in 4 games for Rasul Douglas, he has allowed 10 receptions for 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass breakups. He has 12 tackles in that span. Carrington Valentine in the past 4 games, same as Rasul, 10 receptions allowed, less yards allowed, 103 yards, 0 touchdowns allowed to Douglas's 1 touchdown, no interceptions for Carrington Valentine, and 3 pass breakups and 10 tackles. So the stats of Rasul Douglas and Carrington Valentine when it comes to receptions and yards, touchdowns allowed, is nearly identical. So the fact that the Packers were able to get a 3rd-round pick, and then you have Carrington Valentine playing as he has, you also add in the fact that if you look at next season, the next few seasons, Carrington Valentine, with him being a rookie, he's going to be on that cheap rookie contract for the next few seasons. So not only did you get away, move on from Rasul Douglas's contract, which would be more expensive next year, you have a cheaper corner playing at a similar level to Rasul Douglas. And so the Packers have to be incredibly happy right now with how Carrington Valentine has played. I would guess that that's one of the reasons they were willing to trade away Carrington Valentine, just because we've seen how good he is. We saw him play well in the preseason, and he's played really well this past month since Rasul Douglas has been traded. And I remember watching some press conferences after the Packers traded away Rasul Douglas, and there was just lots of talk about the belief in Carrington Valentine. I think Mark Murphy discussed that and mentioned that. And so clearly the Packers, they were willing to trade away Rasul because they saw something in Carrington Valentine. And I think we've consistently seen the top tier level play that Carrington Valentine has played at the past few weeks. And so that's very promising. Then if we look at Corey Ballantyne, he hasn't played as good as Carrington Valentine. He's allowed 25 receptions in the same 4 games, so 15 more receptions allowed than Carrington Valentine. He's allowed 271 yards to Valentine's 103, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. So my guess would be that when Eric Stokes either returns from his injury first or Jair, either of those guys will likely replace Corey Ballantyne, he's been okay at times, but he's had some games where he's let up a ton of yards, one game specifically being that game against the Detroit Lions. So we should see him replaced sometime soon, but he's still done enough to allow this Packers defense, to hold teams like the Lions and Chiefs in check for a majority of the game. So I think right now you'd have to give this trade an A, in my opinion. The fact that you're getting, nearly identical play, at least when it comes to yards allowed, touchdowns allowed from Carrington Valentine, and you got a 3rd-round pick in return that you can use next season on another player, young player here, and the fact that Carrington Valentine is on a cheap rookie contract, whereas Rasul was a little bit more expensive. I think this is a great trade right now, and we'll see if it progresses this way. If Carrington Valentine keeps playing as he has, this is going to be an A-plus trade from Brian Gutekunst to invest in this young talent and have the ability to draft another young player in the 3rd round in this upcoming 2024 NFL Draft. But that is all I have for this video. If you want more Packers content like this, I will be out with a post-game video breaking down the Giants game tonight, so feel free to stay tuned for that. Turn on the post notifications so you never miss any content, and I'll see you guys next time.